Keith Taylor, Green MEP for the South East. What do you make of the vote that we've had here today on GM? Do you think that it may result in GM crops being grown in the South East of England?
Well, I think it's a very real possibility. It's a probability. We're going to see more GM crops in the UK and in the South East in particular. The legislation sounds great, giving member states an opportunity to opt out, but also it gives them an opportunity to opt in. Now, the British government, despite the overwhelming public opposition to the promotion of GM, is actually determined to listen more to the multinational corporations who are persuading us or persuading the government to invest more in GM.
I mean, let's be clear, what is your opposition to GM crops? Why are they so bad from your point of view?
Well, undoubtedly because they pose a risk. Nobody can say with any certainty that one consequence will follow, but actually it's in the precautionary principle is really suggests that you shouldn't take the risk in the first place, because if you have the opportunity to opt in and your neighbouring county opts out, there's the risk of transfer of GM materials from one area to another area, and that's no good.
You talk in your press release about concerns about GM to do with the environment and to do with health. Just explain then what those concerns are in layman's terms. What are the risks of GM crops?
Well, if you put GM into the food chain, as indeed is the case in America, we lose control over the quality and the risks associated with food. And it's also tying in food production systems to big agricultural operations in a way that makes those corporations, makes those farmers reliant on GM producers.
I mean, those that take a different point of view say that this could lead to increased food production, which is what has an impact on food prices. So that's something they say that we want to achieve. And they say that therefore this has potential for jobs and growth and all of that kind of thing in places like the southeast of England. In other words, if you increase production, you can grow more, you can grow better, you can maybe even use less pesticides by using pest-resistant crops that are GM. Why don't you accept any of those arguments?
Because the best way is the traditional way. Farmers know themselves how they can make their crops perform better. If we have industrial scale agriculture, we've got industrial scale pollution risks from nitrates in the soil, from other pesticides. We have those risks, and if we were doing it more naturally, then we could avoid those risks and with no consequence. I mean, actually, if we're looking about saving food, I'd like to look at cutting the 30% wastage figure of food that there is. That's what needs tackling. We could increase the food availability if we decrease waste.
To sum up then, how significant is this vote? How big a knockback do you see this if the impact is going to be that it will give a free rein to GM crops in places like the southeast of England?
The effect of this vote, which the British government wanted desperately to see, is that less notice is being taken of the consumer, the public, more notice is being taken of the GM producers. And that, in my books, is bad news.